Morality, the spiritual coping mechanism. Did you know that morality is merely a coping mechanism for our spiritual shortcomings? When it comes to the redemption of the spirit, morality is just a coping mechanism. Here is why. Morality by itself cannot vanquish what ails the spirit. And what ails the spirit, in my observation, is the misidentification of itself. So, it follows that when we apply morals to ourselves, but do not take any steps further to rehabilitate or reawaken the spirit to its true nature, we are doomed to fail. Our society today faces moral challenges beyond the comprehension of the average man. Spiritual leaders with the best of intentions find themselves confronted and frustrated by an invisible ailment that they do not understand. We have seen men of faith turn to politics as a tool for enacting laws to try and fix men's moral depravity. But what they fail to realize is that morality is merely a spiritual tourniquet. Therefore, what must follow is spiritual rehabilitation and healing. Otherwise, we are prone to relapse. Without healing, our hopes turn into disappointment and eventually into despair. Considering the recent pandemic, we have seen what can happen when we are confronted by an ailment that we do not understand. Hospital beds fill up. Those who oversee our physical care become overwhelmed. And lives are tragically lost. Whenever the cause is not clear, man is prone to pointing fingers. And therefore, we may find ourselves once again on a spiral towards chaos and oblivion. Unfortunately, this, metaphorically speaking, is our state with regards to spiritual matters. We are fortunate to be in a place and time where, due to mankind's intellectual and scientific advances, we can have medical breakthroughs to combat our physical ailments. However, we remain inadequate in our ability to heal spiritually. And the state of our world is a manifestation of mankind's spiritual turmoil. Healing implies restoring something to its natural state of health. Therefore, before we can adventure to heal ourselves in spirit, we must first understand our true nature. We can only have the compass to counsel or heal ourselves spiritually when we understand our true nature. I have heard it said that God has a reason for whatever He does. I have struggled to understand this way of thinking, especially while trying to understand why God would make someone so confused about their gender. Then it dawned on me that God might be using these anomalies to break the matrix, if you will. You see, there is a common denominator between a spirit that is convinced that it's only human and someone who believes they were born in the wrong body. We suffer on different levels of a spectrum or different depths of the same ailment. And that is, we misidentify ourselves. This to me is the root of our shortcomings. Everything else that ails us is merely symptomatic of this invisible estrangement from our true nature. So, unless we restore our understanding of our true nature with the truth, we cannot begin to heal. However, before we can experience the truth, we must understand that the truth is not something that we can construct with the magic wand of our beliefs. The truth simply exists, and sometimes it's very subtle and may take the form of an anomaly or supernatural event. So, the real challenge for us is to train our minds not to rush to conclusions within the parameters of our physical existence, but instead, learn to calmly experience what is, with the purpose of understanding. We must learn to check our desire to be right, because that is a self-serving mechanism that will blind us from the truth by putting our ego before the truth. In Matthew 18 verse 3, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." It is my humble belief that the kingdom of heaven is truth. And one thing most children are, is curious to know the truth, therefore willing to learn. According to John 8, verses 31-32, paraphrased, Jesus told the Jews that if they followed His teachings, they would know the truth, and the truth would set them free. I reference these verses not to tell you what to believe, but simply to show you what value Jesus placed on the truth for our redemption. Nothing more. So, when we look at spirituality from this light, regardless of what you believe, I hope we can all agree that the truth is the source of our redemption. So, regardless of what you choose to believe, if you cannot experience the truth in the end, you cannot find redemption. It is that simple. Anyway, this is what the Spirit has moved me to share with you today. And I share this with you in the spirit of brotherhood. Unless we understand what ails us spiritually, we cannot see the redemptive power of the truth. And what ails us, as far as I can see, is our unawareness of our true nature. I hope this message finds your heart willing to receive, so that you can have a better understanding of the spiritual task before us. May your heart find the courage to pursue the truth of redemption above all else. Thank you. Taps.